Welcome to you. My name's Dale and this is Dale's Addiction. Welcome to part one of our general Q&A, the collaboration between myself, obviously, and Meredith from Living Lux with Meredith. Now, if you haven't come across Meredith yet, where have you been? This woman has a substantial collection, not just of Fendi, but of all the houses. Chanel, Dior, Hermes, Louis Vuitton. Huge. She has the Louis Vuitton duck. So if you love an unboxing, a haul, and you want to have a look at pieces that you don't get to see very much on YouTube, I highly recommend that you check out Meredith's channel. Her details will be linked in the description box below. For now though, I'm going to hand you over to us. We've probably drunk half a bottle of champagne by now, and so we're ready to get deep on some of these great questions that you all sent in that are mainly focused around luxury and judgment and feeling guilty and some of the societal norms and perceptions, I guess, that are placed around women and men who love luxury. So I hope you enjoy. So welcome back to our Q&A. These will be parts 3 and 4 of our 4-part collaboration. If you missed Fendi Q&A and the Fendi Full Winter 22 review, go check those ones out because that was the start of our journey. Now we're about halfway through the Dom Perignon, probably a little bit further than that. We thought we'd save these juicy questions that you guys so generously provided us with for this last part of our collaboration. So we haven't picked out every question, but there are some themes that certainly came through and we thought it was worthwhile addressing those themes, and we're well and truly prepared for the fact we might go off on tangents, get on our Harry high horses, soapboxes, whatever you want to call it. So the edit will be super important. Part 1 will be on Meredith's channel and part 2 will be on mine, or vice versa, whatever we end up with.
We're just going with the flow, people, just going with the flow. And if you like these, please let us know because we will happily do more. we enjoy this time together.
We will happily do more. And also, pay special attention to the thumbnails that we have so carefully prepared for these videos because yeah, let's just say it's much easier to try and coordinate a thumbnail with yourself than it is with someone else.
Hours of work, people, hours of work.
Oh, you realize how ridiculous it is, when you're actually doing it in front of somebody. Some of my favorite outtakes from YouTuber videos are the ones where they film themselves doing their thumbnails and they're like, you watch that back and go, yep, that's how you make a convincing thumbnail. But yeah.
Yes, I often edit and look at myself because I always do my thumbnails at the start of a video. So I've got to cut them out to start when you guys actually kick in. And my partner or what past go, what are you doing on screen right now?
Yeah.
Why have you not seen this part of my videos where I had this in?
The reality of it all, and the amount of feedback you get from your own editing is just unbelievable about how, your angles and how you segue between things. And yeah, anyway, totally not part of this video, so let's just move on to the Q&A, shall we?
All right, let's kick off. We'll start with how do you two ladies deal with jealous people? Dale, how do you deal with jealous people?
Well, I never used to think people were jealous, but it's an interesting thing. It's something that comes up in the YouTube comments a lot. It's like, oh, do you think people are just jealous when they say that? And I'm like, because I'm not a jealous person, so I guess I don't know. I didn't see behavior as jealousy. However, I've had a situation which I'll share very briefly where I've had a long-term friend recently unfriend me explicitly, and they admitted that they didn't want to be around me because they were jealous of my lifestyle, and it was different to where they had expected that they would be, and I couldn't really believe it. It even makes me feel a little bit sick to think that, jealousy, not envy, not like longing or aspirational, but jealousy. So when I think about jealous, I don't think there are many jealous people, and that's one example of someone I know who is bona fide jealous, and I think it's sad, and it's I feel sorry for people who feel like that about what other people have, because I don't long for other people's lives or possessions. I just don't think it does anything for you as a person. I've got a lot of empathy for those people, but yeah, I don't have any malice toward them.
Yeah. So I don't, YouTube has been the first time I've come across jealous people in my adult life. So my circle is very small. I keep my circle very small on purpose. And the people who make it into my circle are lovely and supportive and, not high maintenance. And so, or their family. And sometimes those things don't match up, but that's fine. They're family, they're in. But yeah, I don't come across it in my day-to-day life. And a lot of the people in my circle, either I have met later in life and accept me as I came to them, or have known me forever and knew me before I had things. So they appreciate who I am as a person, regardless of the things around me. The things do not make us the person.
Yeah.
So I guess jealousy wasn't something that I had really come across outwardly. I mean, people might have felt jealous, but that was certainly never communicated to me until I got to YouTube, and there was that nastiness that can sometimes come with, comments that you get. But ultimately, I don't care what people think.
Yeah.
And that's a real, if you get to that point in your life where, in my case, I had all these terrible things happening in my life, and I was highly stressed, and there was a lot going on, and it was all happening very publicly, and everybody had an opinion on it. And I had what I call a social snap, where I was just like, I can either get really sick and have a mental breakdown because everybody's got an opinion, everyone's got a thought, and everyone wants to tell me what that is, and I'm taking this all on board and I'm getting really sick over it, or I can just stop caring. And I chose to stop caring. And I feel like at that point something snapped in me, and I just don't care. Like, I care what the people in my circle think, which is why it's very small. But outside of that, I can't be responsible for how other people feel. I just can't. I need to do me, and I need to do my family and the people I love and the people I care about, and everybody else, you need to do you. So that's kind of my take on the situation. Like, if you want to be jealous, I'm really sorry you feel that way. It's unfortunate, but I can't be responsible for you feeling that way.
I think you kind of touched on something that made me think about a recent video that I watched around wearing designer bags to work, and some of the comments that people would make and would indicate that maybe they were jealous, or they would say, oh, well, you're obviously getting paid well, or whatever. And I think, I wouldn't say that that's jealousy. I'm just like, well, that's somebody making a judgment about how you spend your money. And if that judgment is true, yes, I spend money on luxury handbags. And as I was talking to you last night, and yeah, I do. And they say, oh, well, you must earn a lot of money, or you've got a rich husband. And I'm like, both, actually. Like, what are you going to, like, I'm just going to play up to that kind of stuff, because it's what people don't expect you to actually, admit that. And I'm like, whatever, like, if that's what you want to believe, yeah, sure, I'll feed that, because you don't know me, and that's how it's going to stay based on that behavior, isn't it? So how do you deal with wearing your most luxurious pieces on a daily basis? People that don't live in big cities often say they feel uncomfortable or out of place wearing their luxury.
I think for me, the second question really leads into the first question, where I don't care what people think. So for me, and I appreciate that I come from a very different place from other people because of that. Lots of people care what other people think, and that's fine. Everybody gets to their journey in their own time. But for me, I have to, like, because I don't care what people think, and I live in a generally safe environment. Dale's talked about it before. Australia is generally a very safe environment. We don't feel threatened wearing them. I cannot think of anywhere that I would not wear my Pochette Matisse, which I wear every day, that I would feel uncomfortable doing that, unless, you know, there are sometimes situations where it's just inappropriate. Like if I was going to a charity event and there were going to be people there from that charity, I probably wouldn't rock up in my Zucker print with my Louis Vuitton handbag, because that's just like inappropriate in general. Like these people, if it's a charity that's supporting people who don't have anything, I'm probably not going to take those things with me. That's just not
You're
appropriate.
off to a soup kitchen, you're not going to, but if it's a gala ball to raise money, then you will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. So I'm heading down to the soup kitchen to help out for the day. I'm not taking my Louis Vuitton with me because it's not appropriate. But generally speaking, I don't have a problem wearing my luxury items day to day. I don't have a problem traveling with my luxury items. I probably think about where I'm going if I'm traveling. Like, am I going to a third world country versus am I going to New York? Very different vibes in those countries. But I don't take on board what people are going to think on me. When I dress for me. What do I want to wear today? What bag do I want to carry? I'm not considering how that's going to be read by the person who's walking past me in the street.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I've helped my neighbor recently pick up her first luxury handbag. She picked up the multi-pochette accessoire, and Louis Vuitton made a lovely event of it for her. But the other day she was off to get the groceries and go to Kmart, and her husband said to her, "So you're wearing Louis Vuitton?" And I'm like, "It's a bag." Like, I'm just like, why would you, like, it's not to be kept for best. Like, I mean, I wear my Chanel mini rectangular. Well, when I used to do Reformer Pilates, I would throw my little Pilates socks in there and I'd just be like, turn up in the activewear, and it was kind of normal. And I went to Uluru, like Ayers Rock, in the middle of the Australian outback, and that's when I had my Pochette Matisse. And I wore that everywhere. Like, I wasn't, you know, there were people with Gucci sneakers on, like walking around the rock, and I'm like, that's even stupider because they're white shoes and that's red dirt. Like, at least my bag's not going to be red. But I just see them as bags now, the way that I would wear any bag. And I think the whole concept of going to work and wearing low-key luxury, if it's got any logo on it, if it says Givenchy, then it's luxury. You may as well wear monogram. Like, I think personally, I'm like, you are treating people like they're idiots if you think they're not going to notice a Givenchy and Dagona and a Louis Vuitton. If they know Louis Vuitton, they'll know Givenchy. Like, they, you know, it's a language that we all know and recognize. So I think you're kidding yourself if you kind of do low-key luxury. If it's luxury, it's luxury. If it's not, it's not. So wear it, enjoy it. Don't leave it in the cupboard and be scared about it. And you know what?
And a lot of this question comes from how you feel about it. It's not, you're projecting how you're feeling to then the situation. Average person who walks down the street doesn't give a crap, people. They don't care.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I was going to say. I'm like, no one actually cares. It's just you. Like, no one does care. Yeah, no. And that's a sad thing. Like, you put a lot of money, time and effort into acquiring these things. Enjoy them. Otherwise, it's like having the poison apple and eating it yourself. Like, why would you do that? That's just sounds ridiculous. It is ridiculous. So enjoy it. You worked hard for it.
All right. So criticism on your handbag passion. So people who just don't understand in real life as well as online.
Yes. Well, I think that since I'm a couple of years into my YouTube journey now, that I don't get any criticism on my passion anymore. And to segue off the back of what we just said, I think a lot of the noise that may have been in my head about criticism was in my head. There are a few little remarks that I picked up on because I was in my head, like, I would be putting my money into more meaningful things, my retirement, or, you could buy a new car with that or go on an overseas holiday. And I'm like, well, I'd actually like to do both. Like, there's things that have happened in my life that mean that I am in a different situation to you. And since I've been talking about bags more, I invite people into the conversation. I don't really get critique anymore. And people that know I have a YouTube channel know what I'm buying, but they will engage with me. It's kind of like a safe place for them to ask questions. You know, when you get your first gay friend and you know, and you're learning, but you don't want to pry, but you're learning about what it's like to be somebody who is in a minority group in society, and you want to be welcoming, but you also don't want to be daft. And so you ask questions like Louis Theroux style, I call it, where they're just very innocent questions. I actually find I get a lot more of that engagement now. So I don't tend to get criticism, or maybe I just don't hear it. It's like water off a duck's back.
So for me, I get genuine questions around, and I think people are curious, which is fine.
Yeah.
And I understand that people don't understand how my brain works, and that's fine too. Scary place. No one wants to be there. So as far as criticism is concerned, I do get the odd, like, well, how could you possibly wear all those bags? And the answer in short is I can't, but I don't go into it thinking that I will. So I come at it from a different angle. For the most part, criticism and judgment, which is the next question we're coming into, judgment, they come from a place where somebody is trying to apply their understanding of their world and their concept of reality to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always work. I don't fit inside your box. Stop trying to make me fit inside your box. So when they're saying to me, how can you wear all those bags? It's because from their head, they're coming from a place of, I buy bags to use and they have a purpose.
Yeah.
I come from a place of, I buy bags to collect. And if I would like to use them, that's fine. I do use my bags, but I might not use them, that particular bag. And I'm okay with that. But their criticism of me will come from them trying to make me fit inside their reality. And that doesn't work. You can't do that with people. I think sometimes you've just got to take it on face value that this is who I am. And if you want to watch me, cool. And if you don't want to watch me, that's fine. In real life, if you want to be my friend, that's cool. And if you don't, that's fine too.
Yeah.
But I am who I am. And you can't make me fit in your box. My reality is not your reality, which is not Dale's reality, which is not anybody else's reality. Like, this is who we are. So you can't really criticize someone for their handbag passion just because you don't have a handbag passion, or your handbag passion is different, or the way you're approaching your handbag passion is different. So for me, because I don't care what people think, the criticism that pops up doesn't really worry me all that much.
Yeah.
But I think if people just took a moment to approach things a little bit differently and think about it and go, well, I'm trying to apply my reality to this person and that's not working. Like, it just can't.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, everybody wants to look for a fit, and the reality is that there's no fit for you better than the one that you have. Like, and if you want to change your fit, then you've got to do something about that. It's not, you don't go and change your outward view to match what you want it to be, or I suppose you can just look out a different window, or you position yourself where you can go, okay, well, here's some things that I wanted to change and I'm changing them, and now I have these different perspectives. And yeah, it's a funny thing. Like, I guess my background comes from a lot of dispute and conflict, and so I've got a lot of skills in kind of listening to what the conflict is, whether it comes at me really in a really emotional, like attacking way or whatever. I can hear what it is, and I'm like, okay, so what makes you say that? What makes you think that? And people go, oh, well, actually, what makes you think that you can say that to me? Or how do you think that makes me feel when you say it? And people go, well, I've actually not considered there's a human in this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just looking at it as a report card on my adult life and going, I'm not doing so well, or I'm not doing as well as I want. And it's like, well, that's subjective. Like, what are your goals? What's important to you? And don't bash other people because their finish line looks different to your finish line, or whatever the case might be. It's
Yeah.
funny.
I think people also don't see the human side, but like the human result of being judgmental. So
Mm.
for example, until I started YouTube, I very much censor myself. In my real life, I will censor myself. So for example, I go to a party and I meet someone and I start talking, and it's this lovely lady, and she says to me, "Oh my goodness, I've just bought a Louis Vuitton cosmetic pouch." And I go, "Fantastic. I like common ground. Yeah, I found someone in the party I can talk to."
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So she's telling me about how excited she is. She's bought this Louis Vuitton cosmetic pouch. And she says to me, "Oh," and I go, "Oh, that's fantastic. I really love the cosmetic pouches." And she says to me, "Oh, have you got a cosmetic pouch?" Years of judgment have me censoring myself. So I will say, yes, I own a couple of Louis Vuitton cosmetic pouches. I know I own 9, but I'm sure as hell not telling her I own 9, because she will instantly read that as me trying to big note myself
One
for
up. Yeah.
starters, which is
Yeah.
not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And it will make her uncomfortable. So I will say, "Oh yeah, I own a few," and then I will try and switch the conversation back to her and her excitement, and try and talk to her about her experience. And that's fantastic. Where did you buy it from? Who did you talk to? And I will try very desperately to get the conversation back to her, because the next question is going to be from her, "A few? How many do you own?" And I will either have to put a number on it and take the judgment that goes with that and explain it in a way that meets her reality,
Mm.
or I will try and dodge the question. But if I say to her, "Oh, I've got 9," she will go, "Well, why would you need 9? That's just ridiculous." And then years of me trying to justify myself and dodge this kind of judgment will have me saying stupid things like, "Oh, well, they make great evening bags." Now, they do if you want to use them that way, and they're big enough to carry your phone, and they come in lots of great colors. And if you want to use them as an evening bag, I support that completely. And that makes sense in most people's heads. "Oh, yeah, these aren't that expensive," in a luxury term, and they
You're
come in
better
lots
than
of colors.
me.
I can see how you can do that. Yeah, that's cool. So she's now made peace with that. But in my head, I've just lied point blank. I don't use them as an evening bag. I never use them as an evening bag. I buy them knowing that I will probably never use them. I just like to collect them. But
Yeah.
I censor myself because I know the judgment is coming. So while people judge because that's the moment, like, okay, well, I've judged you for that, you don't see the other side of what that does to a person long term. And I've done 21 years of judgment for having a collection, and I continue to see YouTube videos where I am judged, even if it's not directly at me. I can see how it could absolutely apply to me. So yeah, sometimes think about your judgments before you lend speech to them, because over time it erodes the person and you no longer have an authentic person. I'm authentic on YouTube. I'm authentic with my circle. But when I meet people for the first time, I am very cautious about how I go into it, because I know the judgment is just there under the surface. And if I don't approach this the right way, I'm going to have to deal with it. And I just don't want to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's funny how the humility that comes with playing small becomes less about humility and more about inauthenticity. And that's like those two things couldn't be further away from each other, but you're trying to do one to make the other one work. Um, I I have to say I find it easier. Um, Working for myself, so in a work environment, judgment, I don't care. Like, I am my brand, and people know me for that now. And some of my clients know that I do this, and I'm cool. Like, I'm not ashamed at all about the fact that I have an interest in luxury handbags. I remember doing a one-on-one meet and greet. How's this? I was asked this really random question from someone who works in a similar line of work to me, and it kind of took me off guard. It's like, what inspiration do you take from art, right, into your work, right? And we're in a cafe, and I remember Carl Stefanovic and Jasmine, his new wife, they were over in the corner, and I'd said, "Don't look now," but like that's and they's going, "What?" Like, anyway, and then he's come out with this question on a like like we've just been introduced by a mutual colleague who said you guys should do some work together. I'm thinking, art? Well, the only art that I'm really into. And so I've said, designer handbags. And he's just kind of looked at me and gone, yeah. He's gone, sorry, what? And I said, well, the way I see my work is that I start out and I've got a vision for what I want to create. And then I've got to think about the components of making that vision come to life, which is what's the story I want to tell? What are the materials I'm going to use to create that story? How do I want it to be used? And, at the end of the day, what do people remember? Is there a product that they can remember? And I'm like, that's kind of how I view luxury handbags. Like I have, it's a passion of mine. It's an interest. I like them. I'd never thought that deeply about them at all. But, and in that moment, like he was actually really listening. He's an org psych, so I'm sure he's heard crazier things than that. But he was actually really listening, and I'm listening to myself going, you sound like such a dickhead. But it's true, right? But I just said it out loud. I judged myself. Yeah. If I had the platform, time, or inclination to have those conversations with like-minded people, the amount of verbal diarrhea that would come out of my mouth about all the things I think about this stuff would be huge. But it's about having a safe place to talk about it. And I think judgment is the opposite of that. So, it's I think I'm definitely guilty of judging myself more than I think other people do. I know that I'm good at building relationships and I'm a really relational person. So I think if I position it in the right way, I feel like I could avoid a lot of judgment. I could make it a safe place for people to ask questions rather than kind of go, yeah, you seem a really materialistic and egocentric person that I don't want to get to know. So I'm like, well, that's your loss if that's where you're coming from.
Oh, that's not true, Dale. We're all trying to stalk our way to a friendship with you.
I was never the popular girl, but since I've loved Fendi.
Fun fact, people, you can stalk your way to a friendship with Dale. I am proof of that.
Meredith, to be quite honest, I don't think that a lot of my friendships are as authentic as my YouTube friendships because people that I get to know beyond the comment section, we know a lot more about each other. This is a big part of what I'm interested in that I cannot share with a lot of other relationships that I have because there's just no interest from that side. They're not interested at all. And I have that fourth dimension with the people that my crew, the people that I've found through YouTube and the socials. So it's been very fabulous. So that got pretty deep pretty quick, didn't it? We are philosophers and we have a lot to say. Editing this one was quite a hoot. Remember though, there is more and there are some great questions that are answered in part 2 of this Q&A over on Meredith's channel. So please make sure you head over there and watch just after you're finished watching the rest of this. If you have liked this, please remember to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. If you haven't already, I'd love to see you back. I put videos out on Wednesdays and Sundays and sometimes some extra ones. So I hope to see you in the next one, and let us know, have you enjoyed this collaboration, these Q&As? Is there anything else that you'd like to ask us or any other topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future? I'd love to get some ideas from you on this one. So until we see each other again, take care and ciao. Bye.